Ladies and gentlemen, JMSP Entertainment, in partnership with Dr. Pamela McCauley Michael of T-STEM Incorporated, would like to welcome you to the launch of the upcoming documentary series, We Kept America Great. At this time, please welcome the host of tonight's program, Mr. Swann Christopher. As a professional actor, acting coach, and independent filmmaker, Swann has performed in and or produced films, commercials, TV shows, music videos, and internet videos. Currently, he is an instructor and administrator for Talk to the Camera, which provides acting and video making instruction for children and adults. Welcome, Swann Christopher.
Hello, and welcome to the virtual launch of the powerful docuseries We Kept America Great. When the director of this series, Crystal Alexandria, shared with me the first installment of We Kept America Great, I was blown away. I was left wanting more. So I replied, asking, how can I be a part of this? She introduced me to the creators, and now I'm here sharing this profound piece of work with you. Tonight, not only will we be premiering the first installment of the series, but we'll also be talking with the creators who will be sharing with us their motivation for making it. In addition to that, we want to hear from you. And here to tell us how you can be a part of the program, I'd like to welcome my co-host, Marsha Jews. Marsha is a consultant specializing in conferences, trade shows, career fairs, and event management, the publisher of WKIM Media Network weekly newsletter, and specializes in moderating and hosting panel discussions and forums. Marsha is a subject matter expert on diversity, inclusion and equity, the digital divide, women of color issues, and leadership. Hi, Marsha.
Hello, and thank you so much, Swann. Good evening, everyone. It's wonderful to be here to welcome you to the launch of this incredible documentary, We Kept America Great, a 5-part series. I spent a couple of days in Washington, D.C. with the WKAG family, and we were interviewing members of Congress. We were corporate representatives, students, families, discussing how they believe we made and we kept America great. The responses were powerful. The documentary conveys the voices from people of color who have sacrificed their lives, identity, and souls over multiple generations. Millions of Black, brown, and red and yellow people have continuously contributed and continue to provide to this nation's economic growth. There is a fundamentally clear distortion and false narrative echoed throughout this land. The facts are blatant and will resonate as you view this documentary. It not only exposes and illuminates the vast differences between the truth that minorities made and kept America great, and dispute the fraudulent and deceptive agenda that continues to be uttered throughout this nation. We appreciate your attendance and hope you encourage others to support We Kept America Great. Tonight, this is the launch of this crowdfunding campaign. This allows us to raise the necessary funds needed to complete this series. This is our call to action. We're asking you for your support right now to assist in making this dream possible. Please go to WeKeptAmericaGreat.com to make your contribution and become a part of this historic series.
That's right, Marsha. In fact, anyone who contributes to our campaign will earn themselves a thank you credit in the next installment of We Kept America Great. And contributors of $50 or more will get their very own We Kept America Great poster as our special thanks to you. So please, right now, share this event on your wall, invite your friends and family to watch, and be a part of this fundraising event.
In addition to making a financial contribution, we would love to hear from you. Please share your experiences, your questions, and comments in the chat, and I will read them out loud on air.
That's right. Even if you just want to tell us how much you're enjoying this program, we want to hear from you. So Marsha, thanks for joining us. I'm looking forward to bringing you back and hearing all of the comments and questions that people have.
I know, and I'm so excited. Thank you. See you later.
See you later. At this time, I'd like to welcome to the program the co-creators of the We Kept America Great documentary series, President of JMSP Entertainment and Films, Mr. Johnnie Michael Sr., and Dr. Pamela McCauley Michael. Johnnie O. Michael Sr. is an American film actor, director, producer, and a playwright. A native of Washington, D.C., Johnnie has had an impressive and diverse background in the arts and technology. His creative projects began as demonstrations of faith, creating productions to inspire and motivate youth and adults. What began as a sideline grew into a second career in producing faith-based projects. His career work expanded to an acting career in theater, television, and film, and he is the leader of JMSP Entertainment and Film. Dr. Pamela McCauley Michael serves as the CEO of T-STEM Incorporated, as well as the Associate Dean for Academic Programs in the Wilson College of Textiles at North Carolina State University. She's an internationally recognized industrial engineering researcher in the development of mathematical models, ergonomics, biomechanics, and leadership in STEM. Thank you, Johnnie and Pamela, for joining us, and thank you for putting your efforts and talents into producing this series.
Thank you, Swann.
Thank you, Swann.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for being here with us this evening.
Yes.
It's my honor.
It's definitely a pleasure.
So Johnnie, please tell us why this documentary series is so important and why JMSP Entertainment is doing this film.
Sure, Swann. Well, considering the current political and social climate has so much unrest and misinformation and disregard for the contributions made by many people of color in this nation. And unfortunately, this disregard and the lack of acknowledgement of contributions by many minorities in this country has been ongoing for centuries. However, recently scholarly works has begun to uncover the realities and powerful impact of minorities on this nation. As we previously mentioned, given the current season, we have a moral and professional obligation to join others in setting the record straight. Therefore, we created this docuseries that will celebrate and validate achievements of all Americans, while shining a spotlight on the contributions of African Americans and Latinx Americans, Native Americans, Asian Americans, and immigrants for making America the great country that it is today.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So Pamela, please tell us a little bit about what to expect in the first installment of We Kept America Great.
Oh, absolutely, Swann. The first documentary in the series, We Kept America Great, focuses on the contributions of African Americans and really how uncompensated labor from enslaved Africans was so instrumental and even perhaps the single most valuable resource that propelled America to become a global economic power in the 19th century. You see, but slaves not only worked in the agricultural areas, but they worked to build this country. And they even fought in wars, even as far back as the Revolutionary War. Many African-American slaves were participated in the American Revolution War, and they were promised their freedom. Some of them got it, some of them didn't. But they lived through the war. Many of them fought with their masters. Many of them fought for their masters. So masters were sending slaves instead of themselves to war. But just a few notable: Prince Eastbrook fought in the Battle of Lexington and Concord, and Prince Whipple was one of George Washington's oarsmen when he crossed the Delaware. And then William Lee was a slave of George Washington who fought next to George Washington throughout the war. So slavery has been a huge cornerstone of this nation from an economic standpoint, but even ironically, fighting for its freedom. Slaves were there, and American capitalism used slavery and this uncompensated labor as the primary fuel for the economic engines that really moved our nation forward. And those industries include textiles, include sugar, and transportation.
Thanks, Pamela. I'm really looking forward to showing the first installment here in a few minutes. Why don't the two of you take 5, and I'll call you back in a couple minutes.
Awesome. Thanks, Swann.
Thank you, Swann.
Now at this time, I want to remind everyone that Marsha will be joining us again later in the program. Right now, she's standing by in the comments section to collect all your questions that she'll be reading on air to be answered live by our panel. So please get them in now. I also want to remind you that you can visit WeKeptAmericaGreat.com right now to contribute to our crowdfunding campaign. Any amount is appreciated. And if you give $50 or more, you will receive the official poster of the docuseries. Now, I'd like to welcome another special guest to the program, Ms. J.P. Smith. JP is an experienced contributing writer with a demonstrated history of working in the media production industry for 10 years. She's passionate about storytelling, learning, and growing as a human. She believes that what you love defines you, not what you do. She's a first-generation American, and her goal is to continue growing and writing in film and television. Although she believes identity is not defined by labels, to her, being a Cubano-American female screenwriter means remembering, becoming, and representing women and minorities, making a name for themselves. Welcome to the show, JP, and thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Swann. I'm so happy to be here.
And we're happy to have you. So tell us, why did you feel it was important to be a part of this project, and how do you hope it will affect people?
From the very first moment that Crystal Alexandria, the director, and the creators, Pamela and John, brought me on board, they showed me this amazing content that they had gone around recording in Washington, D.C. And I heard these amazing interviews and these amazing snippets that they had already begun to put together. And I was brought on as story editor to kind of help piece together the narrative. And I was really impacted by the quote by Du Bois and so many other things that he reminded us that America is a pluralistic society. And if we forget any part of what brought us together and what the foundation was, what made this country great, then we're forgetting an integral and important piece of our history. And what my hope is that I can be a part of this good work at this time and at this place. And again, like what Du Bois said, now is the accepted time. Not tomorrow, not some more convenient season. It is today that our best work can be done, and not some future day or some future year. And I just kept that in mind and thought, okay, great. Now's the time that I have an opportunity to be a part of a good work that's doing good things and sharing information. And it's amazing that we're here this evening and we can share it with the world and share it with other people and invite them to be a part of it as well.
Absolutely, JP. Thank you so much. And thank you for your participation in the film. And I'm going to let you go back to the green room now, and we'll have you back again later in the program.
Thank you, Swann. I'll see you later. Bye.
See you later. So Johnny and Pamela are back. So Johnny, please tell us why slavery was so instrumental in America's growth.
Sure, Swann. Well, the body of the enslaved served as America's largest financial and assets for during this time, 1801 to 1862. For 60 years, it was America's most exported commodity. And the profits from the cotton propelled us in the United States and positioned us to be a leading economic power around the world and made the South prosper in a phenomenal way.
It sure did.
Yeah, absolutely. And what was one of the most surprising findings the JMSP team had found out during this documentary?
Well, I mean, as Johnny said, I think it was terribly surprising to find just how significant cotton was, being America's most exported commodity, and that how it increased production about 400% over the 60-year period. But in addition to that, Swann, the depth and the breadth of the impact that the use of enslaved labor had on really propelling a world power, America to be a world power. But think about it. In an organization, the most expensive cost is usually labor. And so you had an entire nation that had the benefit of free labor, uncompensated labor. And what this did, it gave generational and multi-century impact on the economic status of the people in this country. For African Americans, unfortunately, the economic impact was very negative. But for those who did have the benefit of slavery, if I can use that term, I probably should use a different term, but for those who benefited, I should say, from slavery, it had a multi-generational impact on their families. So generations of people have benefited from the slavery 200, 300, 400 years ago in this country.
And fast forwarding Swann to today, when we were actually doing the film, I was really surprised at the amount of people that was instrumental in as far as wanting to see a change today.
Absolutely.
You know, the thing is, during this time where with all the rhetoric and everything that's happening right now, you know, what we're presenting is information that people can learn from and to bring awareness to people. And that's so important, where we can unite the people.
Absolutely.
You know, and these are the things that we at JMSP Entertainment and Films, we want to do. We want to educate the people. And that's so important, you know.
It is.
Absolutely. So, so is that, well, what is your ultimate goal in making this documentary series?
Well, I think Johnny really hit the nail on the head. We want to educate. We want to enlighten. We want to even inspire people. I was so inspired learning about the impact that my ancestors, a positive impact. Obviously, slavery was a horrific thing, and we've suffered from it for generations. But to know that their hands, my people's hands, were so instrumental in building essentially every part of this nation, it really does give me a lot of pride. But I also want us to have the record set straight and be very clear about the contributions of all Americans from all backgrounds.
Of course, of course. So what would you say are the most important things people can do today to support the vision that we have for this project?
Well, they can join us and share the story with us.
Absolutely. A lot of people that we met along the way have inspiring stories of their own, where their family members and neighbors knew certain things and were making a difference. And so we love to hear more about these stories as we continue to build on this series and others. But also join us, be a part of the solution to set the record straight. I mean, we're asking people to join our crowdfunding campaign, follow us on social media, share it with your community and your network. So all of these things can be so valuable because we really do want to build a community around this.
And speaking of crowdfunding, WeKeptAmericaGreat.com. They can go there right now. So talk to us about the crowdfunding campaign and why you chose to go that route.
Well, we want to make sure that we give the people an opportunity to feel like they're actually a part of the team that tells the story and celebrate individuals and communities that have achieved accomplishments in America.
Absolutely.
The contributions are very important.
They are, absolutely. And again, the crowdfunding approach, we wanted to use that. I mentioned community a moment ago because we want to create a community around this, a positive, hopeful, empowered community of people that respect each other, that's united, that recognizes the value that we each bring. So from different individuals, institutions, and different organizations, the impact that we all have had and continue to have on the place that we call home, America.
So we've been talking about this film for a while now. Why don't you two head back to the green room and get ready? Well, I'll bring you back after the film.
Sounds great.
All right.
Awesome. Thanks, Swann.
So, ladies and gentlemen, it's a pleasure and an honor to introduce to you the first installment of the original docuseries, We Kept America Great.
What you are about to see is the contribution from the blood, the sweat, and the tears, and even people died to help make this country the great country that it is, because we kept America great.
The United States of America, considered the world's leading economic power, on the cutting edge of technology and innovation, service and quality of life for its citizens is at the highest level. How did America get to the point to be the world economic leader it is today? How did America the Beautiful become the country of choice for so many immigrants, where they flocked from around the globe for over 2 centuries, coming to seek a better life, a better way, seeking the opportunities to live the American dream, bringing their families and cultures in unique ways that made us all American? How did we get to this point?
about today and what's happening in our country right now is that people are finally talking about our past. We're finally admitting that we have a lot of bruises, that we made a lot of mistakes. And that's what makes our country great, is that we can talk about these mistakes, talk about them together, and the fact that we can and that we're facing that and we're doing something about it, that's what I think makes us great.
We strongly encourage you to take what you've learned from this documentary and apply it and show the love and spread that around the world.
It's important to remember all of these contributions that have made life better for all of us. Each one of us in this nation benefits from the contributions of African Americans, of Latina Americans, of Native Americans, of Caucasian Americans, of Americans who are immigrants and have come to this country. As we take this moment to appreciate the contributions of these amazing African Americans, it's also important that we recognize we all made America great. Historically, the ties between slavery and capitalism in the United States haven't always been clearly understood. However, recent scholarly works are helping to set the record straight by exploring the true ties between the 19th century economic development and the brutal system of slavery in the United States. In 2016, Slavery's Capitalism, A New History of America's Economic Development, began to explore this very issue.
At the beginning of the Civil War, the Vice President of the Confederacy, Alexander Stephens, gave a speech called the Cornerstone Speech, in which he said, our government is the first in the world, history of the world, to be based essentially on Negro slavery. The number of the wealth, created slave-related wealth, is one of the primary sources of wealth in this country, if not the primary source. It's whether it's education or finance or agriculture or business or railroads, or mining. We were there in one way or another. And when somebody might just say, we made America great, there's more than enough evidence of that.
We're standing in front of the U.S. Capitol. Construction began September 18, 1793. Slaves built this great monument, and not just this monument, but others as well. And through the help of others to build this great nation.
What makes America great is the desire to be greater than it is now, to understand that it hasn't been as great as it should be. So when I look at the moral arc of the universe of American democracy, Black people have bent it toward justice.
Slavery was the cornerstone of the colonization of the Americas. Of the 10 million people who crossed the Atlantic before 1800, approximately 8.5 million were enslaved Americans. By the time the transatlantic trade was finally suppressed in the 1860s, a total of 10 million Africans had been carried into New World slavery.
The uncompensated labor of enslaved people is essential to its growth, essential to its development, essential to the rise of the United States as an independent world power.
The slave labor, the different ways that we contribute to this country, we help make this country to where it is right now.
In 1831, the United States produced approximately 350 million pounds of cotton, just under half of the planet's raw cotton crop. The bulk of that crop was shipped abroad, and cotton exports worth just under $30 million accounted for 35% of the value of all goods exported from the United States. By 1835, the cotton crop had increased to more than 500 million pounds, roughly 70% of it grown in Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, and Georgia. Cotton exports, now worth nearly $65 million, amounted to more than half the value of all goods America sent overseas. This industry was undergirded by the enslaved labor of Africans who had been transported in earlier decades in the transatlantic slave trade.
Standing behind me is the Dr. Martin Luther King Memorial, dedicated August the 28th, 2011. This great monument of a man, a civil rights leader, delivered a powerful speech, I Have a Dream, in 1963 on the Lincoln Memorial steps. Now, as he overlooks the tidal basin, another great powerful monument, Thomas Jefferson Memorial, he looks and perhaps thinking that every man should be able to have the rights to take advantage of the Constitution of the United States of America.
It's really inspiring to know that how our ancestors survived all the hatred, slavery, and all the segregation and stuff. We've survived a real long war.
The white population of Mississippi grew fast in the 1830s, but the black population grew even faster. Just over 65,000 in 1830, by 1836, the number of enslaved people had jumped to more than 164,000, an increase of roughly 250%. By 1840, the enslaved population sat at nearly 200,000, approximately 52% of the population in the state, and triple what it had been 10 years earlier. Every white man intending to become a cotton planter in Mississippi aimed to own slaves. The more slaves a man owned, the more land he could cultivate and the more cotton he could bring to market. It is no secret that slave labor made everything at the times possible. It might seem that white Mississippians actually insulated themselves against financial failure by so boldly expanding slavery. Enslaved people grew cotton that would make slave owners wealthy, and as relatively liquid assets, slaves could also be converted into cash.
There's a slave owner who buys a college in North Carolina. It's called Trinity. We know it today as Duke University. One branch of the Duke family is going to get into mills, and that will become Duke Nuclear, Duke Energy. So money parlayed from the uncompensated labor of our ancestors has rippled through this economy from the age of rivers and mills all the way down to nuclear power plants. So this is just an example. This is why we have to be fierce in our knowledge of history, fierce in our teaching of history, because they're not teaching our contributions to this society.
The Consolidated Association and other property banks readily lent money to stockholders who mortgaged their real and personal property, including slaves. Property banks were part of an astonishing expansion of credit that helped to buy thousands of enslaved people, hundreds of plantations, and improvements in technology that would undergird Louisiana's growing sugar crop. Louisiana's 1820 sugarcane crop was valued at $2 million and its cotton crop at $7 million. By 1829, the sugar crop was worth more than $6 million, while cotton crops had sank to $2 million. The demand by cotton textile manufacturing in Europe and New York's financial and commercial dealings. Mississippi's social and economic history in its early statehood were driven by cotton and slave labor, and the two became intertwined in America. Cotton was a labor-intensive business, and the large number of workers required to grow and harvest cotton came from slave labor. Because of the cotton boom, there were more millionaires per capita in the Mississippi River Valley by 1860 than anywhere else in the United States.
As you can see, we all have kept America great. And as far as the response that I'm getting, I'm just intrigued by, as far as the love, the unity that people have within them and the changes that they're suggesting to make. When I ask that question about, do you love America? Do you think America is great? Everybody feels that America is great, but they also feel the changes can be made to tear down the barriers, as far as like racism, and as far as the rhetoric that's happening right now, that's slowing down the progress as far as we coming together as one. And that's what this series is about. We kept America great, and that's our intent.
In the world we live in today, the fact that a black man can go to college and graduate and be successful, and he is an entrepreneur, is something that I'm sure that my ancestors would never have thought would have ever happened. And then you have a female who's still striving for higher education and doing what she needs to do to better herself. It's just absolutely makes my heart feel good.
Yesterday she asked me if I wanted to be president, and no one has ever asked me that before. That feeling in America is awesome.
Of course we love America. America is by far the greatest country in the world. But we always have to remember and work hard to make America the land of opportunity for everyone. People of all colors, all nations, all backgrounds. This is the place where any boy, girl, woman, or man should be able to fulfill their dream.
We have to understand that the United States is a cultural pluralistic society. Like Du Bois stated, that we can be black and we can still be an American. You can be Latino and still be an American. You can be Asian and still be American. You do not have to give up one to take on the other. We're the only country in the world that we come together not by race, not by ethnicity, not by religion, not by culture, but we come together because of what is stated in the first 10 amendments of our Constitution, the Bill of Rights. And we come together because of the 14th Amendment that states that all the laws in the Constitution is guaranteed to all citizens and visitors in this country.
There is no great thing that has happened in this country in terms of building this country and making it the great country that it has always been, that African Americans have not been a part of.
I just want to say, we're all in this together. It's that life is not a race. We're all here to do the same thing, but more.
Don't act like you don't know. It's right in your face and about to explode, because love is the answer to heal the world of this mind cancer.
So if you were moved by that film and would like to join in our movement, please, we ask you right now, while we're together, if you haven't already, please visit WeKeptAmericaGreat.com to make a contribution. Every single donation in any amount is appreciated, and every donation of $50 or more will earn you an official We Kept America Great poster. So please, donate now. We also ask that you share this live stream with your networks right here on Facebook. After the show's over, the video will be available for replay right here on our Facebook page. So please contribute and share this video right now. We greatly appreciate it. And at this time, I want to bring back my co-host Marsha, along with Johnny, Pamela, and JP. Welcome back, folks.
Thanks, Swann.
Thank you, Swann.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So
that was wonderful.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it? So how's it going? What's the comment section look like?
Well, I'm really excited because someplace on this little question, I have Nancy Harbin, who actually had a question of keeping our history as part of the narrative of systemic racism. What do we do about it? But Black Caucus. So thank you, Nancy. So what do you think about keeping our history and our narrative about systemic racism?
Well, I think that's vitally important. Acknowledge all of the contributions, and it's definitely a part of systemic racism. Any type of marginalization where or you can bias the contributions of a person or a group of people really is part of a racist culture. And so again, I think part of doing this is combating that as well.
I agree.
So we all have it. Go ahead.
It's remembering, and it's letting the next generation know where you came from. It doesn't have to define you, but you remember so that you can change from it. And that's why it's vital that it becomes a part of our narrative right now.
Mm-hmm. We have another question. Go ahead.
As far as paraphrasing Dr. Martin Luther King, it kind of went like, he mentioned the fact that, and I'm saying this to give African Americans credit, and we're going to start with them. When it comes down to the minorities, the rest of the groups, we're going to talk about that in the series to come. But speaking of this, it's very important to understand when Dr. Martin Luther King spoke that it's cruel. No, it's okay to tell a man that he ought to pull himself up by his bootstrap, but it's just cruel and unjust to tell a man that he should pull himself up by his bootstrap when he doesn't have a bootstrap to pull himself up by. That's not exactly what he said, but putting you in the ballpark. So we've come a long ways. You know, we didn't even have the strap to pull ourselves up with. So, and that's very important, acknowledging where we came from. The story should be told, and we never want to forget that. Absolutely. Everybody should know where they came from, and at the same time expected to know where we're trying to go. Right. And as far as like grow and going together and uniting, and we can all serve become on one accord, we can get along and improve this nation in a great way. It's a great country, but it's room for improvement.
A lot.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we have another question that, are there a lot of statistics that are part of the actual program through all of the series? Do you have a lot of statistics? And they just want to make sure that people can see the highlights of, from an economic standpoint, from an employment standpoint, and new businesses, that type of thing.
Absolutely. There are definitely statistics throughout the documentary series. One that Johnny mentioned earlier is that cotton production increased 400% in a 60-year period from 1801 to 1862. And that was, again, effective at propelling America forward economically. And also you had more millionaires in the South per capita than anywhere in the United States. And it was 100% built on the back of slavery. Mm-hmm. So there are statistics about that throughout the book, the docuseries.
And I wanted to piggyback that, saying that Pamela and Johnny's research is extensive, and I'm very impressed with all of the resources that they've used and the persons that they've brought in for the interviewees to quantify their statements. They're not just saying things. This is documented historical facts, and it just quantifies the episodes. And I know that each future episode will have the same quality and caliber of research and documented statistics and information and graphics and pictures to reinforce the story that they're telling.
And that's real critical. We need to be able to have that because we don't have enough of it clearly in the school system, which brings us to, why is this so important for students?
Oh, wow. It is so important. And as an educator, I am so excited for this to get in the hands of our young people. Students need to know the real deal about how this country was made. And I think it's also very empowering, it's encouraging. It also gives us the wrong that history has done in terms of leaving out so many of the contributions of people of color is a huge goal as a part of this.
Absolutely. If I could add to that, when I was a kid, obviously, I mean, I learned a version of American history and I learned about slavery, but it always seemed odd to me that the United States was such a young nation compared to the European nations like England and France and Italy. And yet we rose in such a short time to such great power to today where we're the most powerful country in the world, right? And I always just thought it was because we're great, right? But learn that it was actually because of the free labor that was given by not given, that was taken from
It's huge.
One thing for sure, the children are our future. And when Maya Angelou says you can't go through life with a catch of minnow in both hands, you got to be able to throw back. I went to school, and on the tail end of segregation, I was going to school during a period of time, and the school was integrated. So I was born in 1957. So by the time I was in the 8th grade, that's when school started. For me, well, 7th grade, I'm sorry, the school was integrated. So, one thing, I want the children to know that you're not a product of your environment. You have freedom of choice. I was at the right place at the right time going to school. And sometimes you will see things in your environment that you wouldn't expect for your child to be exposed to. Right. So, we as parents, we have to educate ourselves and let, not just ourselves, but we have to educate our children, and we have to prepare the children, for what's coming down the road. So that's very, very important. And I hope that this documentary can be utilized as a teaching tool for each docu-series that we're going to throw out. That's very important, and it's vital to this nation at this time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think education, and then with education, you say remembering, because we want this generation and our future generation to remember how we got here. We got here, and as this episode pointed out, on the backs and the blood and the sweat and the tears from the African-American community and slaves that were enslaved against their will at the founding of our country. And it's important that we remember that so that our children can go up and we can change our actions and the way we treat people going forward. So it's critical remembering and educating on that.
And so with that, I would like to bring another question. What other nationalities are you going to be presenting, and how will that be presented, and what that rollout looks like?
Sure. Well, we are going to be celebrating the contributions of all diverse Americans. We're going to have an episode on Hispanic and Latinx American contributions. Native American contributions, of course, are foundational, as are the contributions of our Asian American brothers and sisters. And so those will be the 3 additional episodes. But then we also wanted to do an episode that just focuses on immigrants and immigrants from around the world. America has benefited so much from immigrants, and immigration has been another tool that has really helped to propel our nation forward and helped us excel in so many ways. So right now we have 5 episodes planned, but if we are able to raise more funds, we may even do a few additional episodes.
Well, we also have another question wondering, what was going on in your mind that actually started this whole trajectory? Something occurred. What was the flame? What was the thing that you just lit to make it happen? Did something emotional happen, or you rest?
Well, I mean, I'll let Johnny jump in here too. But for me, I am tired of people of color being marginalized. I am tired of our contributions going unrecognized. And I mean, we have literally given our lives, and generations of people of color have contributed immensely to this society. And, you know, we all get a month, Black History Month, and you got Hispanic Heritage Month and Asia Pacific Island. So everybody gets a month. No, we need more than a month. We need to talk about this. This needs to be a part of our everyday history. And today you have so much, as Johnny was talking about, the rhetoric that's going on. So it's even more important that we are intentional about sharing our contributions.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Johnny, do you have an opinion on what?
Sure. Well, just as Pamela mentioned, you know, it's truly vital to our nation. And as far as when Pamela and I decided to come together as joining T-STEM, that's her company, and JMSP Entertainment, I was actually putting on productions, and she saw one of my productions up in West Virginia, as a matter of fact. And we both have engineering background, and she came to me, and we both, she approached me about us joining and doing something together. And this is actually what we decided to do. You know, we decided to set the record straight. We decided that we wanted the world to know the things that we've done as minorities, and focus on that, you know. So, you know, any minorities that might you know, that's so important. It's
right. Well, and we live in such an era of misinformation. And so, I mean, this is the time for truth. Words still matter. Truth matters. The way we got here today matters.
It really does matter, and it matters to all of us. And the only way that we're going to be able to build is that we all work together. So Amen. We have enough. Pardon me? Oh, so here's a question. What are 4 things that you want the audience to do right now?
What do we want the audience to do right now?
Right now.
4 things.
Right now, we want you to go to the crowdfunding site, okay? And make a donation, no matter how small, whatever size. We appreciate any support you can give. The second thing, share this. Share it with someone, okay? So pick at least 5 people in your network to share it with, okay? And then like us, follow us on social media, okay? And then communicate with us. Tell us your stories. Share the impact that your family, your communities had. Some of the things, again, that we learned along the way in this process were just amazing. So we want to hear from you. We want you to be a part of our community, the We Kept America Great community, where we truly value each other.
That's great. So what is our crowdfunding site? Somebody?
That would be WeKeptAmericaGreat.com. That's
and All right. And what is our financial goal?
Well, the goal, our budget today, for about $100,000, we can do an excellent job on each of the series, and that includes all of the development, the travel, to pay all of the crew. So $100,000 per episode. And so that is what our goal is at this time.
Mm-hmm. And so also, when you talk about being able to bring your community together on this, will you be doing ongoing activities, keeping up with the people? Are you on Instagram? Are you on LinkedIn? Are you on all these other sites?
We're on everything. And they look for JMSP Entertainment, okay? But also, if you go to the crowdfunding site, that can also, will have some information on how to connect with us. So
and that link
again,
is
the JMSP Entertainment Facebook page. And then, of course, we have social media platforms for all of the other, Twitter, Instagram as well.
Right.
Oh, so I have somebody asking a question about is it a GoFundMe? Because they're trying to.
Correct. It is GoFundMe. It is
but there is a link on WeKeptAmericaGreat.com.
Correct.
Actually, Marsha, if they go to WeKeptAmericaGreat.com, it goes automatically to the GoFundMe page.
Great.
So
one stop shop.
You don't have to go look for it on GoFundMe.
Exactly.
WeKeptAmericaGreat.com. We made it as easy as possible.
Okay.
Awesome.
With that being said, we're getting close to the end of the hour now, so we're gonna have to wrap this up. If there are any questions that weren't answered, hopefully we can get to them online. And Marsha, tell us how they can be a part of our program.
Well, you want to go to WeKeptAmericaGreat.com. That'll do everything that you need to do. And the reality is that we really need you to bring together your entire circle of influence.
Absolutely.
We need you to be able to get everybody as excited as we are. For us to be able to create this is amazing. The truth is coming out. The truth about all that each one of these nationalities have contributed and immigrants to this nation. Let's have the truth. And the truth starts by getting to the GoFundMe page, www.WeKeptAmericaGreat.com. You do that first, send us your information, stay in contact with us, and we're going to be coming up with all kinds of great ideas for you.
Thank you, Marsha. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. It's been a pleasure seeing you once again, and I hope to see you very soon.
Thank you.
And JP, I would also like to thank you for joining us tonight, and also thank you for your contributions on the film.
Thank you.
We loved it.
Thank you so much, Swann and Pamela and Johnny. It's been a pleasure and a joy to be a part of this project, even in a small way. And I would just leave everyone with a couple thoughts. The E pluribus unum, one out of many. We're a pluralistic society, and we've contributed to making this country great. And then also look for the helpers. And Mr. Rogers said that, and being a part of We Kept America Great is a way that you can be a part of helping as well and getting this out there, whether the 4 things: giving money, liking, sharing, but also spreading that word with everyone else. Thanks, guys. Love ya.
Thank you, JP. We love you too.
Thanks, JP. And Johnny and Pamela, what can I say other than thank you for allowing me the pleasure and the honor of being a part of this great movement that you've started. And I really appreciate you being a part of the show tonight too.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, Swann. Thank you. Thank you for hosting, you and Marsha. It means so much to us that such a beautiful community of people have come together with us to make this a reality. And we thank you all for helping us to make that appeal to increase the breadth of this community.
Thank you.
Sure.
Yeah. And also, as Pamela mentioned, I would like to thank each and every one that's a part of this team and everyone that had joined today. We so appreciate you. We so appreciate the donations that will be made towards making this film, the docuseries. We truly, truly thank you.
We do. and really appreciate everyone being a part of tonight. And want to again remind you, join us, join our community. We would love to hear from you. And one other thing, we know this is October 19th, and in a few weeks, we have something very important coming up.
That's right. Yes, we do. And what we want to do, we want to make sure that we make a appeal to each and every one of you all to vote in this upcoming election.
Yes.
Because it's vital, understanding the fact that when it comes down to our ancestors and people of this great nation that died, as far as with their blood, their sweat, and their tears, it's very important when it comes down to our founding fathers. When speak in terms of we the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish a justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty and our prosperity, do ordain and establish this Constitution of the United States of America. So, it's very important that we come together and what we do come together and unify. This is the main purpose for this. Like I say, the rhetoric and the division right now that's happening in this country, it's really no need for it.
Yeah.
And
we will be better.
And this is what we have to do. Understand, reach one and teach one. Right. Okay. And let them know what we're trying to do here. Mm-hmm. And we truly appreciate that. And thank you in closing tonight. God bless each and every one of you all.
Yes.
And I thank God for this opportunity.
Yes, we do. We do. And thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. Thanks, Swann.
You're welcome.
Thank
Very
you, Swann.
well said. Thanks to you both. So that's all for tonight. I want to thank everyone for joining us. I hope you enjoyed the film and the conversation. Special thanks to everyone who's already contributed to our GoFundMe page that can be found at WeKeptAmericaGreat.com. So once again, my name is Swann Christopher. Thank you for joining us tonight and have a great night.